More coming out on Amorim versus Wilcox. Amorim has raged at Wilcox a number of times, not just because Wilcox asked him to change formation, not just because he wants January investment, but Ruben Amorim wanted a whole new Manchester United starting 11 after the Everton game. INEOS love control. INEOS love bossing new managers around. But INEOS could be ready to break their own rules for the dream manager target, who I think is one of the best managers on the market. Managerial versus Delo. Apparently, Delo believes he's the best right back at Manchester United. I personally disagree. Let me know down below. Who do you prefer in a back four, Managerial or Delo? Updates on Murillo being linked to United. Interestingly, he's being linked to Man United as a Maguire replacement, when I'd say Milenkovic is probably more of a Maguire replacement if we're talking about the centre-backs at Nottingham Forest. But Murillo is young, he's left-footed, he's not the tallest. If anything, he's probably a Leachy replacement. But we'll talk about a few centre-backs Man United have been linked to, the future of Mainoo, and United considering Danny Welbeck move. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute roundup video, where I'm going to round up all the latest Manchester United news into a 10-minute video for you guys. If you do enjoy today's video, feel free to hit that like button. You're welcome to subscribe down below if you're new, but let's get into it. So this came from Andy Mitten, who gets lots of stories about what goes on behind the scenes. After a humiliating loss to 10-man Everton, Ruben Amorim reportedly lost his temper in a meeting with Jason Wilcox. He declared none of the current players were good enough, and every single one of them would need replacing for the club to progress. So this was the starting 11. We also had Mason Mount and Kobbie Mainoo on the bench. Cunha was injured. Seska was injured. De Ligt is a very good player. Bruno Fernandes is a very good player. Mazraoui is a very good player. Diallo is a very good player. And Boomer is a very good player. So there's 5 players on that pitch that are very good. You've got Euro potentially for potential. You've got Le Mans, who's also just come in. So, and a lot of them are Amorim signings. So maybe a little bit of an overreaction from Amorim when he just stuck with basically this team the whole game and didn't try anything different when it wasn't working and we couldn't break down Everton. Amorim has every right to have anger with Jason Wilcox. They should have brought him in a midfielder. A Casemiro Bruno midfield 2 does not work. They should have brought Amorim in Baleba. But they brought Amorim in a whole new attack. I think INEOS not getting a midfielder was a huge disgrace. It was a big disgrace. But even without a midfielder, you should be beating a 10-man Everton, you know? I actually think there was games where it wasn't on Ruben Amorim. We lost to Arsenal, and I personally don't think that was on Ruben Amorim. We lost to Villa. I don't think that was on Ruben Amorim. We drew to Bournemouth. I don't think that was on Ruben Amorim. I think what more could Ruben Amorim do? But there has been games this season, like a 10-man Everton, where, INEOS should have given Amorim a midfielder. But for Amorim to say that every single player needs replacing and that none of them are good enough, it's like, well, actually, you didn't adapt tactically to them going down to 10 men. You didn't try. So, personally, I actually disagree with Amorim on that. I think Amorim has every right to rage at Wilcox. I think the way that Wilcox has acted is not good enough. I think Wilcox asking him to change formation, Wilcox not doing anything in January, is a disgrace. Ruben Amorim has every right to be raging. But I actually felt like the Everton loss was on Ruben Amorim for a change. Anyway, let's dive into manager talk. Tuchel ticks almost every box. Elite big club experience, Premier League experience, and a Champions League winner. He's managed PSG, Chelsea, Dortmund, etc. He's expected to be available this summer with the England national football team deal ending after the World Cup. This is the concern. Tuchel's abrasive, demanding style clashes with United's preference for basically a coach that's going to work closely with Wilcox and Barada. So INEOS must decide whether to adapt their blueprint for Tuchel or look elsewhere. Poch, McKenna, and Glasner are alternatives. The only one of the alternatives I sort of like is McKenna, and that will only be if Carrick Ball goes well with the squad. I'm going to be honest. INEOS want power. They want control. Not many managers, bar maybe De Zerbi and McKenna, are going to want to work as a head coach in this INEOS structure. Not many managers. So what I will say is adapt. I think INEOS are going to have to break their own rules to bring in a Tuchel. Or even if it's not a Tuchel, an Ancelotti. Unai Emery would not work with us right now unless we gave him a lot of power. Tuchel, same. Ancelotti may be the same. I think INEOS are going to need to break their own rules, concede a bit of power to get an elite manager in, because this is Manchester United We need an elite level manager in the door. Continuing on, let's talk about Mazraoui versus Dalot. This has come from Nathan Soul. Dalot will believe he should be first choice right back moving forward, himself better suited to a back four, and also a player that can convert inside, which is something Carrick should appreciate versus Middlesbrough. Something Carrick had showed an appetite for at Middlesbrough, sorry. I watched Mazraoui at AFCON. I watched Mazraoui in a back four. Mazraoui is better than Dalot. Dalot is better in a back four. He's not a wing back. Dalot is better at getting forward and getting in dangerous positions and then completely missing the chances. But as an all-round player, Mazraoui is better. And also, he wants his right back to sometimes tuck in as a third centre-back. Mazraoui has done that under Amorim. Mazraoui is the better pick for right back, for my opinion. Mazraoui is the better player. Mazraoui could tuck in as the third centre-back, which is how Carrick used his right back at Middlesbrough. I think Mazraoui is more technically good. I think he can invert well. I personally think Mazraoui is better than Dalot, and I actually can't wait until he's back from AFCON. But let me know your thoughts down below. You might disagree with me. So, let's talk about centre-backs. Murillo is among players being considered by Man United as they seek a new central defender. CC Transfers also quote tweeted this saying, I said this a couple of weeks ago, in no particular order, Bastoni, Gay, Murillo, Silva, Helland. I think Helland's actually just got a move. Braithwaite likely, interest likely gone, Lekeba too. I think United would love Gay, but I don't think we're going to get him. I think they will keep an eye on Silva at Benfica, but I think they will probably opt for a Murillo type player because of Prem experience. I think Bastoni we got no chance in getting. Braithwaite's too injury prone. I mean, my ideal pick would be Slotterbeck. Look, Bastoni's great. I don't think we'll get Bastoni. I look at Man United and we're going to need a centre-back, but we need three midfielders. Agate and Casemiro are gone and Bruno could go. We need two big midfielders. I'm talking Anderson, Baleba. We need a third midfielder that's maybe just a 20, 30 million pound player for depth. We need a left wing. So I'm looking, the top three positions are left wing, big centre mid. Then in fourth is probably a third centre mid. In fifth, you're looking at left back. In sixth, you're looking at centre back. You could argue left back sixth, centre back fifth, seeing how Dorgu does. Because we'll have Yoro and Delict as right centre back and Leacher and Heaven as left centre back, I don't think it's like a massive, like we need to spend 60 million on a centre-back. I think we could find someone in that 20, 30 million range. I don't want to be spending 70 million on a centre-back or 60 million on a centre-back when we need about an 80 million midfielder, another 80 million midfielder, a 70 million pound winger. I think centre-back's one of those positions. Personally, I would be a little bit, I'd wait a little bit longer. I don't think Murillo's going to be less than 50 million. That's the only thing. Like, I like Murillo, I like Bastoni. I mean, if you can get Gay, that's absolutely class. But I think Anderson, Baleba, and left winger is where the budget will go, and we see what happens. And look, we just can't do it all in one window. Someone said that I'm defending INEOS the other day because I said INEOS should have got a midfielder. INEOS not getting a midfielder is a disgrace. But I think other than Baleba, if INEOS had got Baleba, I would have said they couldn't have done more in the summer. We got rejected by Gyökeres. We got rejected by Delap. Blessing in disguise, I think. Mbumo, Le Mans, Sesko, Cunha, and Baleba, I would have been a window where I would have said fair play to INEOS. I wouldn't have expected us to sign anyone else. And I think, in this summer, there's so much that we need, but I can't expect us to be spending 80 million on two midfielders. So that's 160 million midfielders, 70 million on a winger, 60, 70 million on a centre-back. I think we have to have three positions that we spend big in, and then two positions where we spend less in. And I think there'll be two big midfield signings, one big left wing signing, and then you spend a little bit less on a centre back and you spend a little bit less on a third midfielder or left back, in my opinion, because I don't think we can do it all. There was talk of United wanting Danny Welbeck as a short-term solution. The best thing about that would be when we play Brighton, it means he wouldn't score against us if he was playing for us. But I don't think we need Danny Welbeck as a short-term solution. I think Sesko is showing positive signs. And there is a clear feeling now that Mainoo can be in a much better place in the summer thanks to Carrick. He would, than he would have been had Amorim stuck around. And I agree. I think Mainoo is going to have an important role under Michael Carrick. And I think one of Ruben Amorim's most concerning elements was the lack of use of Mainoo. I think that we would have been better playing Bruno higher and maybe Mainoo next to Casemiro, because if you look at the build-up issues that we had, I felt like Mainoo fixed a lot of those build-up issues. But guys, let me know your thoughts down below on all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, and more. I think that we desperately need a midfielder in January. I think INEOS not getting Amorim a midfielder is an absolute disgrace, and INEOS not trying to get midfielders is an absolute disgrace. But let's hope we get an elite level manager in. the board fix up, change up, bring in some elite midfielders, and next season we're in a better place. Thank you for watching. Bye.